Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. Today is a day full of technical snafus on my part. We started late because I had a little technical problem going live, and now here I am talking away on mute. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. I am so excited to have Lisa here as my guest today. We met on Pod Pals, which is a monthly networking thing that the host of the podcasting business school does every month for people who listen to his podcast. And I think it's Adam Schneibel, I think is his name. And when I heard you chatting, you sounded so engaging and interesting. I really wanted to have you on my show, and I'm delighted that you said yes. So, for anyone who doesn't know you, please tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me, Annette. I'm Lisa Morton. I'm a holistic interior designer and Feng Shui consultant, and I teach Feng Shui. And I'm really passionate about helping people create spaces to support them and to just feel better in their day to day. I've been in the interior design industry for 20 years and have focused on this holistic wellness approach to design for about the past 10.
Well, we were chatting a little bit before we went live, and I think I mentioned to you that I recall Feng Shui being a hot topic, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think. I know I have a book on Feng Shui up on on my bookshelf someplace, and, I remember a few things which are probably not even correct, like have your door painted red and don't sit with your back to the open door, and don't and have, like, a Japanese, bamboo or something on your desk, or but, but for people like me who have no idea what they're talking about when they mention feng shui, can you tell us a little bit kind of about, like, what it is? And because I think for a lot of people, it may be completely foreign.
Sure. I think a lot of people think it's simply just superstition, but it's actually over 4,000 years old and began in southern China. And it's been documented and researched and followed for so long. Feng Shui means wind and water. And we look at places and how to create balance in a space, utilizing this 5 element system that fire, water, wood, earth, and metal. We use this to create a balance in your space, and then in turn that creates balance in your body. So it just helps you live your life better and be more intentional with every day too.
I appreciate that. I am a true believer. I'm sorry for I'm just like, I don't know, not technical today. So, um, I really appreciate the whole idea of mind and body working together and they relate to each other. And I know for me, I can't have like too much clutter on my desk, or I just can't work. But you went through these different fire, water. Can you tell us a little bit about what each of those kind of relates to?
Sure, sure. So, really, each of these 5 elements describes how energy moves in a space. So, the fire element is kind of higher energy, right? It lifts our energy when we kind of have the winter blahs or we're just feeling kind of low, right? Or we need to exercise, we need to get our energy up. The fire element will support you there. Water brings in fluidity. Peace, calm, fluidity. It's great if you're in the creative field. Say you're writing a book and you're struggling, bring in the water element. So some sort of blue, blacks, or some sort of watery pattern in a sofa or a throw pillow. Um, Wood element is a plant. So any type of living plant, flowers, also the color green. And this is really good to bring in a sense of revitalization, moving onward and upward, focusing on your goal, going to reach that. Let's see, the earth element connects to the colors of browns and beiges and tans, kind of those colors you'd see if you dig down into the earth, as well as big chunky textured rugs in our spaces and square shapes. Those all bring the earth element in. And the earth element is really beneficial when you need to be grounded. Okay, and you're just having a busy day, you need to feel grounded and yet feel your feet on the floor. The earth element in your surroundings will definitely support you. And then last, we have the metal element. So this is represented through any type of metallic item. Silver, gold, whatever metallic, as well as the colors of white and gray and pastel colors. Okay, and then circular shapes. So the metal element can be really good for your office. If you have a deadline, you want to bring that metal element near your body. It will help you with that like extreme laser focus to get your project done.
Wow. Wow. So I'm looking around my office and it's painted in a light blue, so I guess that's a good thing for me. And I do tend to wear black, which I thought was a bad thing. So maybe it's not such a bad thing. Maybe it's a good thing. But and can you talk a little bit about the idea, because we're talking about sort of content marketing, in this space. And so it's people that are working, maybe they're working on their own, or they might be a social media manager for somebody else. And we talked about like creativity and productivity. So can
Mhm.
you talk a little bit about, how those relate to Feng Shui? And I guess that's it. Go wherever you go. Just
All
tell
right.
us.
Well, I'll tell you number one, it's so important to clear clutter, right? Clutter just brings unease in our body and it's just unmade decisions. So take time. I try to set my timer for 10 minutes at the end of my workday to clear off my desk so I can come in and feel refreshed and renewed when I'm ready to dive into work the next day. So that is the very first thing. And then if you need to like really bring focus in, I love specific colors. We talked about blue for creativity, a little gray or white for focus, but my favorite paint color for an office space is yellow. So yellow actually lifts our energy, but it's also very grounding. Yellow is actually an earth element color, kind of when I talked about the beiges, the tans, the browns. So yellow is really good to lift our energy, but keep us grounded at the same time. And it just helps with focus. I actually had an office years ago. My husband and I moved into this new home, and I've worked from home 10, 12 years now, had a home office as we've moved. We moved into here and it was yellow. And I'm like, oh, I have to repaint this. I'm not a yellow person, but I don't know what color, so I'll sit with it for a while. I grew to love my yellow office, and I felt like I got so much done while I was in that yellow office. I was just so productive and could focus really well. So it just, I'm a big fan of yellow, and it just really is supportive.
Wow, I find that so fascinating because I am like not a yellow person either. I can't, it's just I don't know. It's just I can't imagine trying to use that. But I think it's interesting, and I'll ask you about this because you're talking about like calming with the water, with the blue and everything. But yet if you go into like in a hospital or something, the walls, a lot of them are green. So you had talked about green being,
Mm.
I forget, something with is that
A wood
calming?
element.
Wood
So
element, okay.
it can be, it can kind of lean two different ways. Green is really good to revitalize your body. So something really cool, if you've ever taken flowers or a plant to someone who's ill in the hospital, you think you're just doing this kind gesture, right?
Mhm.
But following feng shui, these connect to the wood element. So you're gifting them something with an element that's going to actually cue their body to start healing itself. Plants are just so wonderful for us. So green, it's a soft green that you see in these hospitals, soft
Mhm.
blues, soft, gentle colors. So a soft green, I have a soft green bedroom and I think it's really peaceful. It just can't be too bold, too bright of a green, or else
Mhm.
it will be too high energy.
Yeah, that is really interesting. And, obviously, I'm sure most people know that it's good to have plants around because of the, they give us oxygen and, it recycle the air. And it's a struggle for us because we have dogs and so many plants are toxic to dogs. So like the plant you have behind you, I have one very high up, but couldn't have that low because it's the dogs.
I
But
get it.
but and I'm assuming that it has to be real, not, a fake plant.
Well, you can bring in some other options. So
Okay.
green coloring on a wall or green
Okay.
pillow or a green candle. Also vertical stripes bring in this element. Okay, so vertical stripes on wallpaper, vertical stripes in a pattern on a pillow. You can also bring in artwork. Artwork is excellent because I have a lot of clients that travel on business that they have cats that will get in your plants. So you can bring in artwork. I actually have a cute little powder bath, and I really wanted a plant in there because plants are really good in a water element, and bathrooms have so much
Mhm.
water. Well, I couldn't do it. I couldn't find a plant that would stay alive. So I brought in this beautiful watercolor painting of these plants, and I have it on the wall. So you can bring artwork in of plants, and that works just as well.
Wow, it's funny because I know we have one plant, and it is in our bathroom, but it's toxic to dogs, but it's very high up, so they wouldn't be able to get it. But I think we are inadvertently doing something right in our home. Our home is mostly blues and grays because we just like that. We are both fans of water, so we have paintings of, seaside and ocean and things like that around. So I'm guessing that's inadvertently that's good for us.
I think we're naturally drawn to what feels good to us and what we crave. The key is to remember balance. So while you love those blues and those watery colors, you also need
Mhm.
to make sure you have balance, which is interesting because directly behind you have those bold, bright, colorful prints.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of making sure you have all elements represented in your space. But we also want to balance for the activity in the space, right? Because, say, a spa, the energy of a spa is very soothing and very relaxing. But then the energy of a school, a casino is a totally different energy. So we want to balance for the activity in the space.
Wow, that is so interesting. So I'm gonna ask you to give us some tips now. As I said, I'm looking around my office and I do have some wood. I have bookcases that are wood, and so I do have kind of a mix. You can see I have my fake flowers behind me, so there is that. I don't have a plant here, but maybe I'll have to get one for my desk. But it's and it's interesting that you mentioned the pictures. Now, I bought those a couple of years ago when I stopped using a virtual background, and they just appealed to me because, dogs. And I get more people who compliment me on the pictures, partly because the dogs are wearing glasses like me, and people know that I have dogs. They're kind of part of my brand, but they also make me smile. Like right now, I see them when I'm on video. So is that kind of something that things that make us happy?
Definitely, definitely. I'm always telling people to be very intentional with the things you bring into your space. You don't just want to fill it, right? I have clients that build a new home and they want it to be HGTV photo shoot ready tomorrow. And I'm like, no, let's be really intentional with all those things you're bringing into your space. Do they all make you feel good? Do they make you happy? When you walk in, are you joyful to see them? Or is it something like, oh, there's the vase that I got for a wedding gift that I just don't like, but I can't get rid of it because somebody will get mad at me, right? We all have those things in our home. And I want you to really be mindful of these, right? Fill your space with those things that you love, that make you feel good. Move on from those things that don't make you feel good. Just because a great aunt gave you a sweater one time doesn't mean she intends for you to keep it forever.
Yeah, I love that. And I will tell you that I have a lot of quirky things like a multi-painted tall dog figurine that sits in a corner. We have a lot of things like that just because I like them. And I hear you though when I'm thinking of some of the antiques that I have that they're in the chest, but I don't really like them. They don't do anything for me. So, um, but I'm also, I have to say, as I'm sitting here and, we're in the studio together and I'm looking at my office and I'm looking at yours, and yours is so calm because
Quiet.
it's so just, I don't know, Feng Shui comes to mind, or Scandinavian or Japanese, and all of that. It's so, so, absolutely uncluttered and yet not empty.
There's a method to my madness here. So we have a whitish gray background, which brings in the metal element, as well as the
Okay.
gold detail, the gold
Mhm.
shimmer on there. So metal element for focus, so I can focus on you, as well as the triangular shapes you see behind me bring in a fire element. So that will lift my energy so I can stay engaged and not get sleepy. And then the plants just kind of keep me feeling, revitalized and ready to go. So there's a method to my madness here.
No, no, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. So for people who are listening now, we have some people listening now, and we get more on the replay and on the podcast. So if most of I think most of my audience is working in a home office, but they may be working in an office someplace. So starting with sort of the home office, where I think we may have a little more freedom to, control over our environment. Can you give us some tips of things that, we can incorporate? Like I could just bring in and incorporate, and others can, to make their environment more productive, help them be
Sure.
productive and creative, etc.
Definitely, definitely. I work with a lot of people on home offices, and it's fascinating because I remember during the days of COVID, people would call me because they're like, I can't focus. And they're sitting at the dining room table and their kids are next to us and dinner's being made next to them. Like, of course, you're not going to focus. So, number one is find a dedicated space. Okay, they'll be working at the dining table, at the coffee table. Find a dedicated space. I even went as far as we created, utilized in small apartments, a closet, we turned it into an office. So have that dedicated space and fill it with those things to support you. Don't just use an empty room and it has clutter over here and some boxes over there. Fill it to support you to succeed. How does that look? You can even I even tell people get on Canva or something, or just create a collage of images, a vision board for what you want in your office space. And then a big thing that really helps me, and I think helps a lot of my clients, is to set up a routine in your office, because I work from home. I know how easy it is after dinner's cleaned up. I just want to pop back upstairs and answer two more emails, right? Because
Oh
the day is
yes,
never done. All right.
yes.
So, right. So it's so easy to do, but we need that away time. We need that time away with our, families, our kids, our dogs, whatever. We need that time away because that makes us a better performer the next day, right? So set up a routine. If you do this every day, it will help cue your body into moving into work mode and moving out of work mode. So I walk in my office, I open the door, I turn on the lights, I open the blinds, I light the candle, I sit down. At the end of the day, I stand up, blow out the candle, close the blinds, turn the lights off, close the door behind me. And I repeat this every day. And once you start doing this, your body will start cueing into, okay, it's time to work. And then, okay, we're done for the day. And that really is beneficial.
Wow, I love that. It kind of makes me think of the like sleep routine. They say get into the routine before you go to bed. Do this, do this, do this. And I will say that I am so guilty of, getting up in the morning and grab my coffee, feed the dogs, and stumble into my office and start working. But yeah, I love that idea of having that sort of schedule. Um, because I think it is when you work for yourself, you work from a home office, I guess if you have a, sort of a flexible schedule, um, to it makes it great. Like I can run to the grocery after we're done here and then just come back and work late. But we do tend to incorporate, the work just spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. And as you're talking about the dedicated space, I'm thinking of which I think is, as I read here and there, is becoming less of a trend is the whole open floor plan, which, and it seems, because I used to watch a lot of HGTV. I still do occasionally, and it's like they go into the home, pull down the walls, and I'm thinking, but during, I think, the pandemic, people realized that, you can't. I mean, that was fine. I had sort of a big loft-like space when I was single. But when you're even if you're just married, like me and my husband, you have to have space that's separate. So what about people that are living in those open spaces, open floor plans? What do they do?
This could be hard. This can definitely be hard. And that is so true because everybody wanted these open concept floor plans. And now, COVID made a lot of people realize that we need dedicated spaces so we can go in, be quiet, we can focus and not hear
Mhm.
music and the TV and all that. So you can do a couple things. Again, play around with closets. I actually worked with a woman. She wanted to create a yoga and meditation space in this big unused walk-in closet. So look at your closet space. And also you can use dividers, folding screens, things like that to create spaces for you to work. And it's something wherever you are working, I want you to do whatever you can to try and have a solid wall behind you. So this is one of my most important tips is, I think you mentioned at the beginning, it's called the command position. Putting yourself in this command position will help you focus, will help you feel supported and grounded.
Yeah, I don't know where I picked that up. I was working in corporate, but I had my own office, and everybody there, we had our desk positioned so that we were facing the door and not, and not have it behind us. Now, my door is not behind me, it's over on the side. I'm not facing it, but what about bringing in things like you talked a little bit about pictures. Now, you talked about the pictures that I have behind me, but I only really see them when I'm on video, and I have them there for that purpose. But I do have things across from my desk that inspire me, like a plaque that says, "Be the change," that quote, "Be the change you want to see." I have another one with a donkey that says, "Don't try to win over the haters. You're not the jackass whisperer." Now, I have those kind of side by side, and one day it's one, and one day it's another. But what about I'm glad I made you laugh. So what can people put across from them that they're seeing to, I don't know, maybe inspire them or make
Sure,
them
sure.
laugh or
I love any type of positive message, right? That you can look at because you might not even consciously look at it, but you're subconsciously reacting to that positive message that's directly across from you. I recently worked with someone and we did it online. We did a virtual meeting and I had her send me photos of what she looked at from her sitting position on her desk. And it was these bookshelves with books, but then it was filled with just a lot of stuff and stuff her kids had given her and like trinkets and bits and pieces, right? We want to calm that down. So I asked her to pare it down a little bit. So you have areas of emptiness and then some areas with some items to look at. You don't just want to be constantly all this stuff behind your screen because it's going to be distracting when you're trying to focus on your screen.
yeah, so I want to share your LinkedIn profile for people to follow you, and you do share, I believe, a fair amount of information on LinkedIn. But I don't know if that is the best place to follow you. I mean, I like your background, although I would think that after talking to you, that's like a Feng Shui nightmare.
It's a little busy, but the best place to follow me is probably on Instagram, just because I'm a creative person. I love images, I love photographs, I love jumping on and sharing a video. Hey, I'm working on this. This is how you might solve this problem in your home.
And when it comes to Instagram, what is your
My
handle?
handle, yeah, at Pure Living with Lisa Morton. So my business is Pure Living with Lisa Morton. So you can find me at Pure Living with Lisa Morton on Instagram and Facebook too. Same
And
for
Facebook.
Facebook.
Okay, because I know you share a lot of videos. I've watched some of your videos, and a lot of them are instructional type videos, giving people tips about how to, like, some of the things that I've asked you today, that you share things like that regularly on there. And so I appreciate that. Since we are live on Instagram right now, I don't know if I can pull it. Let me see if I can pull it up in a second screen without okay. All right, here we go. All right. So I'm going to just share my screen again and show you on Instagram. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so there's the Lisa. There's all your stuff. So Pure Living with Lisa Morton, and here are all of your. Oh, and it looks just so perfect too. My goodness, my
You
Instagram
might
just
see a
doesn't
lot
look
of
like.
photos of my dogs.
But the layout, it looks so perfect and organized and everything. So yeah, this is where you are most of the time. People can certainly find you there, and get information about you on your Instagram, which is great. I follow you as well. So I always like to ask my guests before, as we're winding down, for their final thoughts. I've asked you some questions. I think we've had an interesting conversation. I know I've learned. I'm sure others will learn as well. But what would you like to share that, I haven't asked you and we haven't talked about, that you think would be beneficial for people, to know?
Mm. I kind of touched on it at the beginning, and a lot of people think feng shui is simply superstition, but it's really deeply rooted study and research and following, and studying over the years. And while we have the utmost respect for the traditional ancient practice, what I practice is also very westernized because we live in a different world. I'm talking to you on a computer, right? We have electricity, we have internet and everything. So it's a nice blend. I'm not going to make you decorate your home in Asian decor, right? There's other ways to bring these elements into our space to feel good and also have a home that we feel is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. As I mentioned, our home is kind of eclectic. I mean, I on on top of our china cabinet, I have a still that was my grandfather's, and then other things like that. It's really, I guess, eclectic. I think is the best way to think about it, and maybe that's not such a good thing. But as you're talking about, the Western holistic, now, as your background, while it is very soothing and everything, it's not antique or anything like that. The paper is very, modern. So are there any things that you can just mention as we close that people can put in their office other than a plant, which seems like a no-brainer that everyone should, have a plant in their office, maybe one in every room. But
One
maybe,
in every room.
3 or 4 other things that people might want to have on their desk. You mentioned a candle. I have a diffuser, but I don't
That's
have a.
great.
Okay, so
That's great.
give us a.
Aroma is so powerful to lift our to adjust our energy if we need to bring ourselves down to lift it up. I also love beautiful things, whether that's something decorative, a, a family photo in the corner, because while you're still at work, you want to remember those special people. Also, awards and certificates. It's important to display these, be proud of them, and that will encourage your body and the energy to want to achieve more. Right? This is really great. And just really be intentional and clutter clear as much as you can, because I know you clean it and a week later it can be really messy. But start over, to start fresh. Schedule that time every day to just pick up before you're done for the day.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that is a perfect note to end on. So I thank you so much for being here with me today. This is a great conversation. I have learned so much. I really appreciate everything you've shared. For everyone else out there, have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next week.